Anyway, moving on to camouflage. I'm just going to go over a couple topics here. Now, by the way, this is Camo 101. I'm going to talk about scent camo. I'm going to talk about clothing, meaning things you can buy at the store, what to look for. I'm going to talk about footwear, which sort of goes right along with the stalking as yesterday. I'm going to talk about natural camouflage, and I'm going to give you stalking tips. Now, I don't care how good of a stalker you are. If you don't have any camouflage skills, you're never going to stalk and touch an animal. Because us humans in our street clothes, are not designed to go out and blend into the woods. Not to mention that, but you'll notice the first and probably the most important thing I have up here is scent camouflage. Back when we were hunter-gatherer peoples and we lived off the earth and we lived with the earth, we didn't have to worry about our scent so much. We didn't have to worry about our scent so much because we were part of that environment. But now, because of the because of the foods we eat, because of the stuff that we wash our body and our hair with, we absolutely smell to animals. And you heard me earlier in the week say a lot of animals don't have very good eyesight. But what they lack in eyesight, they make up for tenfold with their sense of smell. Take the white-tailed deer, for instance. The white-tailed deer can smell something like 6 parts per million of human scent in the air. So many white-tailed deer hunts I've had busted because somewhere I've walked a couple days before, just my pant leg brushing against a twig, and that deer's picked it up. Did you guys see that Planet Earth series on Discovery Channel? They were talking about those Mongolian desert camels that can smell a human from 7 miles away or something. That's why it's almost impossible to film these things. And white-tailed deer aren't the only things. Most animals, think about dogs, most animals have an amazing sense of smell. That's another hint I'll give you as well. I said it last night, we're a very visually oriented society. Wherever our eyes go, all the rest of our senses go, when we're capable of so much more. If you ever get a chance, look on the internet and type in, I think it's capabilities of human senses. We're able to feel the beat of a fly wing at 16 inches away from our skin. We're able to see a single candle flame at 2 miles on a clear night. All this stuff that we're able to do, but because of our modern society and what it does to our senses, we don't think we have them. Do you think that our hunter-gatherer ancestors, or even the ancestors, cavemen, Neanderthals before that, didn't smell things, didn't use their nose to smell like other animals do, or use their ears to listen like other animals do? One of the best, without getting into too much of the spiritually based stuff, one of the best ways to make yourself more aware is work on your other senses. My favorite thing, stand at the edge of a field on a summer night and listen to all those insects and try to isolate one bug and go find it. There's so many things we can do to help our other senses that have become dull from our modern society. Work on focusing your vision over here and listening to something over here. Because naturally what we do is wherever our eyes go, that's where all the rest of our senses go. When animals don't do that. You look at a deer feeding on the edge of the field. It's constantly looking around, but you also see its ears moving back and forth because it's trying to take in 360 degrees of sensory stuff. Whereas ours, as humans, our cone of awareness, without using much spirituality, is pretty much whatever is right in front of us. That's why wide-angle vision is so important, because instead of this, now we visually can take in this. And just a quick thing about wide-angle vision, I don't want to steal my dad's thunder. When we're in wide-angle vision, our focus is pretty much what's right in front of us. We are not meant to focus on things out here. This is just to detect movement. When we're in wide-angle vision, our eyes are something like 50 times more able to pick up small movements. So we catch movement in our peripheral vision, Then we turn our focus towards that, identify, and keep repeating that. So wide-angle vision is not meant to focus out here. It's just meant to pick up movement. Anyway, so animals, a lot of animals, especially game animals, have an amazing sense of smell. Absolutely amazing. As well as very good hearing. So let's talk about scent camouflage. And the first thing with scent camouflage is our internal descenting. Internal descenting. Before we even worry about our stinking armpits or our stinking feet. Preparing the mind. And not just for hunting. It is so crucial whenever we enter the woods that we empty our mind. That we forget about all those little problems and troubles and things we got going on in our life. You don't need to take that stuff in the woods for you. We go into the woods to relax and establish a deeper connection with Mother Earth. We don't go in there to dwell on the crap that we have to deal with in the outside world. Leave it at the trailhead. Leave it in the car. Leave it at your back door. Don't worry, it'll be waiting there for you when you're done. It's not going anywhere. But just prepare your mind. Clear your thoughts and your troubles and all that crap. You don't need to take that in the woods with you. Animals can sense that stuff. You hear it a million times. Don't let that dog sense your fear. It's not just fear animals can sense. Perfect example. Out of all the native languages, very few of them actually had a word for hunting or killing. A native man never said, I'm going out hunting deer. They would say, I'm taking a walk with my arrows. Because the minute you enter the woods with the mindset that you are going to kill something, you will see surprisingly little. Animals can sense that. Animals can sense that. So never go out with those intentions. Just like my dad said the first night, also empty your cup. Empty your cup. And that goes right along with what I was talking about with expectations. You will be so much more amazed and enraptured and find so much more cool and wonderful stuff if you walk into those woods purely without expectations. All of a sudden, the coolest little thing will draw your attention and will amaze you. You don't have that single-minded focus, because when you have that single-minded focus when we enter the woods, everything else is meaningless to us, except for that one thing we're focused on. So empty that glass. And also relax. That goes right along with getting rid of those thoughts and those troubles. If we go into the woods all tense and uptight and walk through the woods like a bear with a stick up our butt, animals will sense that as well. So relax. Empty your cup. Very, 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 very important. I promise you. So internal descenting is crucial. Let's move on to external descenting. You really, and I'm going to talk about, store-bought stuff. I'm going to talk about natural stuff. The first thing that we can do, to always make sure, we're sort of descented, is we really want to stay away from body care products that have, scents and things like that. We all know, you go to the drugstore, you go to the supermarket. I can't even walk down that aisle because I get a headache of all those soaps and shampoos and stuff. Using those things are not going to help you see animals in the woods. Even if they smell good to you, they smell repulsive to the natural world. Even things that, lilac or spring fresh or summer breeze do not smell like a summer breeze. I've been in summer all over the country, and I've never smelled something like that in summer. So don't believe it. The best thing you can do, use some natural soap. Great one is Dr. Bronner's. It's biodegradable soap. It has 1,000,001 uses. Typically, its basic smell is peppermint or spearmint, which is, a great universal scent. You can get away with washing yourself with that, and, it's not offensive to animals. Dr. Bronner's. On another note, those of us who are hunters are, if you go into any sporting goods store and go to the hunting section, there's 1,000,001 different soaps that are specifically designed with descenting in mind. Both your hair, your shampoo, body wash, clothes wash, things like that. There's a whole massive array of products that are designed to kill our human scent, to make us invisible in the woods. Not only that, but now they got clothing that hides our human odor. Your scent blocker and be the dominant predator, and it's hilarious, There's some of the clothes wash stuff I'll use, but as far as the rest of it goes, no. It's funny how, I watch a couple hunting shows and things like that on TV. And it's just so funny how we've tried to take technology into the woods hunting with us. We want to make it easier and easier and easier. So it's funny. You see these hunting shows, these guys out hunting in these booths have a coffee maker and a couch and a heater in it. I want to go out into the woods and be cold. I want to have to worry about the direction of the wind. I want to have to stalk and track. I don't want stuff that's going to make my hunt easier. Because that's essentially just taking the modern world into the woods with you. And it upsets me a lot of the time that people want to do that. They want to take away the difficulty of hunting. Hunting is a very difficult task, and it should be. Anyway, so yeah, there's a whole bunch of products out there. I do use some. There's some some clothes wash that's made to descent your clothes, and it doesn't have any UV brighteners in it, which a lot of like Tide and stuff does. And, I wash all my wool garments in it so they're not as shiny. I use some of that stuff. They have carbon spray, which I've tried at one time or another. Somebody I'm out hunting with has some. And actually, I do think that carbon spray works, because I had this real stinky pair of shoes, and I sprayed some of that stuff in there and went back a couple hours later, and it didn't smell at all. So, yeah, it's like black water. It's called Carbon Blast or something. So I think that stuff works. But more importantly, bathe frequently, especially after sweating. Any deer hunter will tell you the first thing you do before you go deer hunting is you take a shower and you use those natural soaps. Because our sweat smells because of a lot of the foods we eat. It comes out through our pores. So another important thing, before hunting or going out and stalking animals, you want to avoid spicy foods, because those things come out through your pores. Avoid spicy foods. Another thing, too, like I said, wash your clothes often. I'll tell you my ritual. In New Jersey, it gets cold during hunting season, so I typically wear wool. And I wear a couple different sets of long underwear, depending on how cold it is. Before deer season starts, I wash all my clothes, typically by hand, because even if you wash your clothes in a washer with unscented stuff, if you've ever used other stuff in there, it's still residue and it still gets on your clothes. So I wash all my hunting gear, and then I hang it outside. And I don't bring it in. If it doesn't rain, my clothes will sit out there for days on end. If it's going to rain and I have to put it somewhere so it doesn't get wet, or I have to travel with it, I have a Rubbermaid tote like this. Then in the bottom I have dirt and leaves and pine needles. And I'll throw all my hunting clothes in that tote, close it up, and then, take it to my hunting spot or wherever I'm going hunting. But then once the sun comes back out, or, I'm done hunting, I leave it hanging up outside, sometimes for weeks on end if it doesn't rain. Because I don't want that stuff to come in contact. I would love nothing more after a long day of hunting to come home and strip all my hunting clothes off and throw them on my bedroom floor and crawl into bed. But if you do that, then you got to wash them all over again. So as soon as I wash, I have a specific set of stuff I use for hunting, and that stuff does not see the inside of a house or my truck unless it's in that tote for that whole hunting season. I want to keep it as scent-free as possible. So wash clothes often, and that's the cool thing about that Dr. Bronner's, is that you can wash your clothes in that. And I mentioned a lot of those fancy hunting soaps. One of the best ways to descent your clothes is you don't even need soap. Wash them in a bucket with some good old-fashioned Arm & Hammer baking soda. And then hang them up outside to dry. That works just fine. It's funny that, all these companies are perpetually finding ways to take our money from us when there's things that we can do for much cheaper that are just as good. I was in Bass Pro Shops over the Christmas holiday. My in-laws got me a gift card to Bass Pro Shops. So I went there and I had to get some wool socks and stuff. And I found the most ridiculous thing ever. It was scent blocker gum.
I love that stuff.
Of course you do. Gummoflage. And it was like $6 for a pack of frickin' gum. Of course you did. Once. Right? It's just, they're just perpetually trying to find ways to take our money. Perpetually finding ways to take our money. Anyway. Exactly. So anyway, some other natural things we can do because, I know there's a lot of us out here, or a lot of you guys who aren't hunters, but, now that you have some stalking abilities or you know how to stalk, you're going to want to go out and stalk animals. So, here's some more primitive methods. And I will tell you this, to native cultures, the hunt was one of the most sacred things out there. If you ever get a chance, either rent or buy a movie called The Great Dance. It's a movie about the sacred hunt, and it's, they talk to all these different elders from different tribes. Hunting was never something that was taken for granted, strictly because they weren't going out to kill something. They were going out to harvest or take the life of a brother or sister in order to enrich their own lives and enrich their families' lives. And a great amount of responsibility comes with that. So you hear of things of fasting for sometimes days because a lot of people thought it was disrespectful to go out hunting with a full belly. Grandfather once said, the greater the need, the greater the results. If you go out hunting, they would think, why would the Great Spirit bless me with an animal if I'm out hunting with a full belly? So they would fast, and they would pray a lot. They would take sweat lodge, not only because the sweat lodge is a very spiritual, sacred place, but think about the physical applications of the sweat lodge. It purifies us. It causes us to sweat out all those impurities out of our skin. And they would sweat and then go swim and rinse it all off and go drink more water and sweat again to purify themselves before going out, and hunting. I love some of these books, about native cultures and about their hunting practices and how much more badass our ancestors were than we are. There's a great book about natives of the San Francisco Bay Area called the Ohlone Way. And there's an account in there of this explorer. And there's a journal entry, and he talks about how he went out and observed this hunting party from afar. And the men would dress up in deer outfits, and they'd have the head and the deer skin over them, and they would stalk in amongst the deer herd. And they would feed with the deer and get closer and closer. And if the deer spooked, they would get up and run on all fours too. And he says he witnessed this elder of the tribe actually take the tip of his bow and push a deer in the butt to get it to turn broadside so he could put an arrow in it at several feet away. You show me any professional hunter on TV that can do that nowadays. That book is called The Ohlone Way. It's so funny. A friend of ours out in California just harvested a 425-pound black bear with an Osage bow that he made and an obsidian-tipped arrow that he made. He took it into the game warden. Stone points are illegal to hunt with in California, and the guy said, in the 25 years I've been working here, I have never seen anybody hunt with stuff they made themselves. You know, it's amazing the misconceptions. You know, I'm sure Bill mentioned Eric Callahan has done study after study and proved that a well-sharpened obsidian arrow point cuts deeper and more efficiently than any sharpened metal broadhead. Yet stone points are illegal in most states. I've got friends back home who think it's impossible to harvest a deer with a bow you make yourself. And I say, well, then how the hell did our ancestors hunt? And they say, oh, a bunch of them, 10 or 20, would all shoot arrows into a deer, until they put enough arrows in it that it couldn't run anymore. It's shameful, the misconceptions. Like my dad said, primitive is akin to retarded. Anyway, don't get me ranting. So anyway, sweat lodge. Some quick methods, some quick things we can do. I'll tell you this too. A lot of the best and coolest stalking experiences I've had have been when I've not been setting out to do so. I've been out and about doing something else, and I see that rabbit, and I immediately forget whatever I'm doing and go into that stalk. And here's some quick things that you can do to just quickly deaden your scent. First one, standing campfire smoke. The smell of smoke is far less pungent to animals than the smell of your armpit funk. Yup. If you just stand in some campfire smoke, that'll work just fine to get rid of your human scent. Another cool one, take handfuls of plants or leaves or pine needles and crush them up in your hands and rub them down on your skin and your body and your clothes. Another really cool thing I'll do is, like in the pine barrens, we have lots of wintergreen and we have cedar and we have pine. I'll actually take and I'll make a pine needle / cedar leaf or needle / wintergreen tea, and I'll cool it down and I'll put it in a spray bottle. Psst, 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 psst. As far as I'm concerned, that's just as good as any of that, chemical descenting spray they make in the store. That stuff works great. Yeah, or, very good. Just mix some baking soda in water. So any of those things that we can do, we can just quickly descent ourselves, Once again, a lot of this stuff sounds intimidating to people, but we can do it, There are simpler things we can do. And also, don't feel like you have to do all of this in order to attempt to stalk an animal. Don't let things like that hold you back. Just go do it. Because doing it, even if you fail, and I will tell you, you will fail way more than you succeed when it comes to stalking and touching an animal. But even making an attempt is far better than sitting on your ass and doing nothing. That's why, when you go home, don't let yourself get overwhelmed. Even if you can just do something for 5 minutes a day, look at some tracks, learn the name of a plant, carve some sticks, whatever is better than nothing. Don't take this notebook home full of all this knowledge, hundreds of thousands of years of information, and let it sit and collect dust on your shelf, because that's not doing anything with it. Even if you just have a couple minutes a day. Anyway, I'm going to start ranting again. So yeah, you can crush up plants, you can rub them on your body, you can spray yourself down, with a tea of plants, things like that, and standing campfire smoke.